Maybe.
Hi,
Hey, folks.
everybody, again.
we have we have returned on a different channel or same channel, different bat time, folks. I apologize for the technical issues, and hopefully we are past them at least well enough to be able to communicate with you and between Susie and I. I'm going to re-intro this video because hopefully this one will be hanging around in my archive for a couple of years, and it may be handy for people to know what we're even here for. Um, my name is Paul. I am an endurance runner and an RRCA certified running coach, and this is Coach's Corner, where I have conversations with running professionals and other runners to help you become a healthier, happier, faster, and stronger runner yourself. I'm very, very pleased to have Susie with me from the I Run Things YouTube channel. Susie is a good friend of mine and a very good friend of mine. And she is also a running client of mine. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk with her about her training as she trains through this unbearable summer heat that the Northern Hemisphere is putting up with right now, as she works towards her first really strong Boston qualifying attempt at the Wineglass Marathon in Corning, New York on October 1st. I believe I got that right the first time too. So that's where we're at. And along the way, I would also like to take the opportunity to talk about training in the heat because it's one of the few things that we suffer through as runners that we can really, really make a big difference if we know what to do in order to alleviate not so much the discomfort, but your ability to move fast anyway and to reap the rewards because there are huge rewards to training in the heat that you reap those rewards once things cool down in the autumn. So it's really worth kind of putting yourself out there and getting a little uncomfortable and sweating heavy in the summertime as long as you can do it safely. So with that, I want to say hello to everybody who's watching in the chat, and please join the conversation through the chat, and you can help us steer the conversation. And for anybody who's watching this afterwards, please drop your comments below. And let me also say, before Susie jumps in to say hello again, I want everybody to get over to Susie's channel, I Run Things, and get yourself subscribed because
Shameless bitch.
her stuff is just awesome. So I always enjoy it, every single video. So I know you
Thank you.
will too. Cool, Susie. So how are you doing yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Ready to hit the sack. Like
Oh
today is
yeah, you're
very
tired.
tiring. Yeah, yeah. I was the last so I used to work remote and now I'm hybrid. I go into an office. And
Yeah,
today I
me
had to
too.
go into the office and the last 25 minutes, oh my God, they were so hard. It was like, oh,
Yeah,
can't
it's
you
like
just go? Just go.
every minute gets incrementally longer at the end of the
Yes,
day.
they're the worst. Like it's the worst. Like the last 25 minutes are the worst in the whole. Like I get in there and I'm fine. Like after lunch, I don't have a 3 p.m. slump. Like I'm fine. But those last 25 minutes, oh,
I know,
I just
I
want to
know.
get out of there.
Hey, we've got. Let me bring up some of these chat that are coming
How
in.
you
April,
doing,
thank you for being here.
April? Thank you for persevering.
We've also got Richard runs trails. Thank you, Richard, for being here.
Hi, Richard.
Hopefully, hopefully you didn't have to suffer through that first attempt at this live stream because yeah, things were going a little wonky, but I think we've got it all settled now.
I
So
think we're good.
Richard says, "Hey, Susie."
And he's in
Oh,
the gym.
Richard is in the gym. Richard is always in the gym. He is one strong dude. I tell you what, I learned so much from Richard. I'm going to keep shouting people out because Richard's channel is awesome. If you guys are looking for help with strength training or taking on unbelievable ultra marathon races, oh man, Richard is the guy to talk to. Really, really strong.
I know. Yeah, he's in excellent shape.
Yeah, Richard says hi, Tiana.
Hi, Tiana. Tiana's here
Yeah,
too.
okay, here we go. Hey, Tiana, how you doing?
Everybody's chatting. Feel free to.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, talk amongst yourselves. Yeah. So, cool, folks. Susie, I want to do a little talking about running in the heat before we get into the specifics of your training and how it's been going, because I know the heat has been affecting you hugely. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that some of what I talk about here at the top of this live stream can help you as well as everybody else who watches this later on. Um, I think the big thing to realize that the heat is going to cause, obviously, your body temperature is going to rise as a result of not being able to dissipate heat as effectively as it does in the cooler, drier air that we get in the spring, the fall, and the winter. So, the other things that are not necessarily as obvious to runners, but that definitely affect you, are the fact that your oxygen uptake increases. You need more oxygen for your body just to keep itself running and keep itself in stasis. As a result of that, you can't give as much energy to purely moving those muscles that keep you moving forward when you're running, because that oxygen is being moved to other systems in your body just to keep you running as a human being, not just as a runner. So the other big thing, glycogen depletion goes way up. So
Oh, really? I
if
didn't know that.
yeah, because that again, it's related to the fact that your body needs to remain in stasis. So your body is much more worried in the heat and in the humidity about keeping your systems up and running and trying to keep them optimized. And that takes more energy. So that glycogen that you've got stored in your muscles and in your liver is going to be sort of pushed out to your more core systems. So when you're going out in the summer heat for those longer runs, those extended runs that get up past an hour, you're just
Which
going to
for
find
me are a
yourself
lot of
burning
them
out.
right now.
Exactly, exactly. If you're marathon training, if you're ultra training, even if you're half marathon training, you're going to notice a big difference. It's hard in the first hour to run in the summer heat, but it gets way harder after that 60-minute point. And I've got some stats here that we'll get to eventually that kind of really show the difference of how what the trying to get heat adapted has huge benefits. You don't just go out there if you run regularly in the heat for more than an hour at a time. For most people, it takes you 5 to 10 exposures of 1 hour or longer. So a couple of weeks worth of work for most people to get heat adapted. And we'll talk about what heat adaptation does for you. But before we get there, I want to talk about the warning signs, the things that you need to worry about to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself out there. That's the last thing anybody wants to happen. So the other thing that I do want to talk about, in the heat, lactate levels increase much faster too. So not only are you burning through your fuel faster, you're also developing lactate faster. You're accumulating lactate in your muscles faster. So you are going to feel tired. Your muscles are going to feel heavier sooner. So this is all to be expected. The only way around this is to constantly expose yourself to that heat, to go out there and run anyway. And very good things start to happen for you. But folks, I just want to give kind of a quick bulleted list of the kind of things you want to look out for that you do not want to happen. Stop running immediately. If you start to see signs, if you start to feel faint or dizzy, if you're sweating extremely excessively.
That was me this morning.
uh,
It was like,
yeah.
how can you sweat so much?
Yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable. And I'll give a tip about how you can measure your sweat rate too, so that everybody can find out what's normal for you and what is just way more than normal and dangerous. If you're starting to develop cool, pale skin, clammy skin, if you notice on your watch that your pulse is suddenly shooting up, that's usually your heart it's just working too hard. It's trying to pump the blood through your system faster and harder to try to keep you cooler, to deliver the liquid that your body needs in order to sweat more. So as a result, you'll start to get clammy and cool. You'll start to develop muscle cramps. If you're starting to get those signs, that's the sign of heat illness. you can still bring yourself back to a safe point if you're getting those symptoms. If you start to develop a throbbing headache, if you reach the point where you're not sweating anymore, uh,
That's
if
bad.
your if your temperature of your skin is really hot and it feels dry, if you start to feel like you're nauseous or you feel like you may have to vomit, I want you to get someplace cool. I don't care if it's a store, whatever's nearby. Get yourself out of the heat immediately because you are on the verge of heat stroke. You're on the verge of going unconscious and much worse things. Um,
So that's interesting. This morning when I texted you, I told you I'm just gonna call it quits because I can't. I'm like too hot.
yeah,
But the funny thing is, I at like mile one, I started getting like I was very nauseous.
yeah, yeah.
It
That's
wasn't even particular. I mean, it's really strange how the body works because it wasn't particularly hotter than any other day. I think it was. I don't know. My body was not
yeah. Now there are a lot of
ready
things you
to.
can
Yeah.
do. There are a lot of things you can do before you get out the door even. And the big thing is get a lot of electrolytes and a lot of liquid in you before you ever step out. Never go out running in the heat. To give you an example, like under normal conditions in the autumn or the winter, I go out and my rule is if I'm running for 60 minutes or less, I don't bring liquids with me because I'm going to be there and back again before I get, thirsty and you're not sweating. You're always sweating as a runner, but you're not, it doesn't get dangerously high volume of sweat in the other seasons. But the best thing you can do is load yourself up with electrolytes and cold drinks before you even step out the door. Always bring a drink with you when you're running in the summer. I don't care if you're going out for 3 miles. Take the drink because even if you've got a bug in your system, or you haven't fueled properly yesterday, the day before the run, all these things can add up to your system not being optimized to go out and to work as hard as you work when you're running. So um, do things like, yeah, like drink a lot before you get out there. Bring a drink with you. Soak your hat in like very cold water and get it on your head. Bring a cold towel or a cold compress with you. Um, Wear white. Wear as little clothing as you possibly can. And with that in mind, if you're wearing less clothing, make sure you are spraying down or wiping down with sunscreen. It's a dangerous game. I know plenty of runners, and earlier in my life, I was susceptible to like skin cancers and things like that myself. So you don't want to end up in that boat. So everybody, just be careful out there. Do all the stuff that you know. A lot of that kind of prevention stuff. I'm just the millionth person who said that to you. So just take it to heart.
Right. Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but if you're not doing it, it's not going to help you. So as I said before, to acclimatize to heat, it's going to take most people 5 or 10 runs getting out there for an hour or more over the space of a couple of weeks. Um, you will start to notice cardiovascular adaptations to putting yourself through that within the first 3 to 5 days of running. Um, Basically, your heart will not have to work as hard to deliver the extra oxygen you need. Your ability to oxygenate your blood more efficiently in your lungs goes up. Um, your sweat rate actually does change once you start to become heat acclimatized. The way that works, I can't really hold a graph up here, but I'm going to try to describe this. Um, Basically, taking in fluids before and while you are running, once you hit the 60-minute mark of running, that's when, if you are not drinking, your body temperature, your glycogen depletion, all of that stuff goes extremely bad extremely quickly after the first hour. You still go in a worse direction after that first hour of running in the heat once you're heat acclimatized, but I swear to you, the difference in the way your body depletes if you're not drinking, it's like a spike, as opposed to if you are drinking as you run, it's much more gradual. You can go much longer in the heat, a much longer run. Um, your body temperature and your heart rate also do not spike nearly as badly once you're heat acclimatized, once you're used to drinking as you run. So don't don't throw these ideas away. They're really going to help. Um, what else do I want to say here? Yeah, your hourly sweat rate actually goes down when you're heat acclimatized as well. So, and that means your body can regulate. Um, Not only do you sweat less, but your body actually pushes the sweat to the surface of your skin more slowly. The huge advantage to that is that even though you're still continuing to lose fluids by sweating very heavily, when it's making its way to the surface of your skin more slowly, your body actually reabsorbs a lot of the um, what's the word I'm looking for here? The salts and all of your
The minerals.
yeah, exactly. All of that. So again, you're going to last longer out there. You're going to feel more comfortable out there. You'll be in less danger because you're holding onto those electrolytes for longer. Now, with that said, Susie, I think a great place to sort of bring this around to your training as it is going. You got in touch with me earlier um, today. You had to cut your run short because of the extreme heat was stopping you from hitting your goals for the day, your speed goals for the day.
And it was not, because if it had been like 40 seconds, 45 seconds, I would have been like, okay, I'm just gonna push through it and just, you have bad days. But it was like I felt like it was going really, really fast, and I was looking at the watch, and I was like going 11-minute miles, and I was like, I'm giving it my all, like I'm pumping the arms, and I
Yeah,
just could not go faster. I
yeah,
was, yeah, it was a
yeah.
really bad run.
You made the smart move by getting back indoors. Plus, you are also coming off of a 16-mile long run, just 48 hours, less than 48 hours before that. So yeah, I mean, this is a great a great way to illustrate the importance of having your own coach because we're just going to rework Susie's training plan. I mean, um, I was trying to be a little bit of aggressive with Susie at this stage, this sort of second stage of her training cycle, but through no fault of Susie, it just happens to be summer, so it's harder to bounce back after those bigger efforts,
Dang
right?
it.
So I think what we're going to do, Susie, is as we said when we were chatting on Instagram um, earlier today, I think probably the best solution for you is to give you 2 days rest, two easy days following your long runs to bounce back, get your system back into stasis before we go after the first like hard workout of the week. So I'm thinking maybe Wednesdays, Fridays become your workout days, and you'll be a little bit more stressed going into your long runs. But the good news is we've designed your long runs so that they're much more about long, slow distance this time around. We're not sort of there's hardly ever going to be a workout in the middle of your long mileage. So even though you may go into your long runs still a little bit fatigued, it's not the end of the world because we're just kind of going to leave you in a place where you can just slog out miles as slow as you need to. It's more about time on feet with your long runs this time around than it is about just okay, give me 10 miles at marathon pace at the end of that 22 miler. You know what I mean? So
God, thank you. That would be. Yeah, I was even thinking this morning if it had been short intervals, like 400 repeats with like 90 seconds full rest, I think I would have done relatively well. It was
yeah,
it was it was a full mile and then with a float in between. So I just, yeah,
yeah, I
I
got you.
didn't
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
was
have it in me. I mean, I went on the first mile. I was trying to get as fast as possible. And I looked at my heart rate, and it was like 177. It was like I can't.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
don't blame you, and I think you made the right call. So you know, The big thing for me is that you don't walk away from that experience feeling, down in the dumps about anything. This is just a simple matter of
Oh,
an
I was
adjustment.
like, I'll shake it off. Tomorrow will be better. The good thing about how crappy this run was is that all the other runs had the extreme potential to be fantastic because this was so crappy.
Now the good thing
I was
is,
thinking that it's like a good thing. Tomorrow is going to be phenomenal in comparison.
exactly. And the good thing, everybody, who isn't in the know, who hasn't been following Susie's channel and her vlogs, her training vlogs, as regularly as maybe I have. First of all, I'm going to give you the plug again. Everybody, if you don't already follow Suzie, get over to her channel and get subscribed because it's really fun stuff. Um, the good thing about Susie's training for the last couple of weeks leading up to, today's kind of like letdown is that things have been going really, really strong. I mean, I'm watching Suzie just crush workouts in the heat. I'm watching her knock out these long runs, and things are really, really trending in the right direction. They're trending towards realistic shot at a BQ, on October 1st. So hugely good
Yeah,
news.
I didn't share this with you, but my run on Sunday, my 16 miler, I could have done the 26.2. Like
That's great. That's
I
awesome.
was, yeah. Well, at least I felt like I could. Like I was, yeah, I was in a
No,
good place.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Something that I think, something that I really want to impart to you, Susie, but I think that can really help everybody here, for whatever you're training for out there. Being able to complete your workouts, not just on the day, but you have to, when you're in the midst of a training cycle, you always have to be thinking about not just today. Of course, you want to crush things today. You want to just, you know, do the best you possibly can. But you have to keep in mind there's tomorrow too. You know what I mean? Like if you grind yourself into dust, if you give that A plus performance today, rock on. But if you can't recover from that A plus performance tomorrow and you're not ready for the next workout 48 hours later, then you're not doing yourself any favors. I would much rather see a client, a running client of mine, giving me consistent B plus workouts. Hold back. You know, when you finish your workouts, I'd much rather have you, Susie, in a place where you tell me exactly that. I could have gone further. I could have worked a little harder. I probably could have run another 400. I probably could have, you know what I mean? That's the way I want you walking away from, you know, I could have run a little faster. That's fine. You're going to get that little bit faster without killing yourself when your body makes adaptations to each and every workout along the way. 2 weeks from now, you'll be able to hit that super fast time going around the track or whatever the case may be, and it won't take so much effort anymore. Before we go any deeper, I just want to get some more chat messages up here.
Oh, we have a lot of messages.
Extreme heat suggests trying element. Okay, so a lot more in the way, in the way of electrolytes in element, according to Richard. Um, Rock and roll, yeah. I mean, that's another thing to keep in mind, folks. When you are drinking more water, and I hope you're drinking a lot more water in the
I
summertime, not
am.
just when you're out there, but throughout the day, because you're always sweating more. Not just when you're running, but you're always just kind of got that going on in the summertime. Everybody does. And the thing to keep in mind, and Richard makes a good point here, is that you can't just be taking in straight water because even though it takes an extreme amount of just straight water to get hyponatremic, which is just you're basically flooding your body with just straight water, and it doesn't. You're washing out the electrolytes that are in your system, and then you get all kinds of bad things happening. But the ultimate bad thing is that you're washing out so many electrolytes in your system that your muscles can't fire properly. You'll first start to feel numb. You won't feel as strong. Taken to an extreme, your heart can't function, and heart attack and lung issues, and you never want to go there. So make sure you're taking in a lot more salt and a lot more electrolytes in the hotter months as well. Let's see what else. Per bottle. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you, Richard. So Element,
I've heard
you
great
know,
things about Element, actually.
yeah, there are a lot of good brands, even like IV2 and all that kind of stuff.
I
It's
love IV2.
yeah.
This video is not sponsored, but I have a link on my videos for I I love IV2,
Yeah,
honestly.
no, I actually just had one before I left work yesterday because I was feeling a little bit dried out, and I just popped it into my water bottle, and it was awesome. So
I like that it doesn't have sugar because,
exactly.
if you have other brands, they have sugar. And you not always, I mean, the sugar is great when you're going to exercise, but if it's a normal day and you're at work and, you don't have to continue to add sugar to everything you're having. So,
Yeah, exactly. So Susie, to bring it back around, now that we're going to be working on sort of like reworking your weekly schedules to make sure you get enough rest in between your long run and when we start hitting it harder in the middle of the week, I'd really, right now we're kind of in strength mode. We spent the first, basically we spent June just kind of building your base, getting you in a good place where you could handle more miles per week. My puppy dog is dreaming, dreaming and crying in his sleep. Calvin, wake up, baby boy. Oh, the trials and tribulations. Um, so we got Susie to a point where in June, by the end of June, you were handling like 34, 35 miles a week. And we're continuing to build on that throughout July. Wow. Calvin, baby boy.
he's having an argument with another doggy right there
Yeah,
in his
baby
dreams.
boy. And he never wakes up easily. That's the problem. There he is. Okay. Um, so, folks, yeah, we're spending July uh, for Susie just kind of building the mileage up more, but we're starting to incorporate strength work, which, for me means Susie is starting to see more hill work. She's starting to see, for instance, instead of doing strides after an easy run, we're now moving the strides into the middle of those easy runs so that there's not a full rest in between each of those strides. You have to try to get your breath back and get everything back in stasis while you're still moving. And all these have positive cardiovascular effects. They make your muscles stronger, and it helps to convert those fast twitch fibers into slow twitch fibers, or makes your fast twitch fibers behave more like slow twitch fibers. It doesn't actually do a conversion. But
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
yeah, there are three major muscle types. So you've got your slow twitch, sort of you got your fast twitch, which is like that extreme fast power, like if you suddenly have to lift something heavy quickly, or if you're sprinting. That's where those fast twitches come in. Um, you've got some that kind of sit right there in the middle, and those type 2 muscle fibers are the ones that, if you get them used to going longer, they can be converted is the wrong word, but you can teach them to behave much more like slow twitch fibers. And slow twitch fibers do not provide the same raw oomph, but they last forever. You can keep on calling on them hour after hour after hour. Whereas if you're training your muscles more to the high end of like raw explosive power, as everybody knows, you can be very strong, but you can't be very strong for very long. It's just, you
Right.
know, as a marathoner, as an endurance runner, we want as many muscle fibers as possible behaving like slow twitch fibers. So that's kind of where we're going with Susie right now. Those hill sprints, we're doing tempo mileage broken up with easier floats in between. We're not really at the point yet. When we get to August, when we get to early September, Susie, we're going to be like hitting not only extended amounts of tempo miles with very small or no breaks in between, but we'll also be hitting the really really fast stuff. The stuff where it's fun to go to the track. it's not necessary to go to the track, but you know, like a lot of 800s, a lot of 400s, a lot of straight 1 mile reps done at, you know, where you're really pushing really hard. Right now we're getting your
I'm
body
excited for
ready
that.
for that. Yeah. But yeah, right now we're building your ability to do that without putting you at risk of injury. You know, basically. So that's where we are. You know, there's a ramp up. Suzie started July, used to running around 35 miles a week. By the time we get to the end of July, you know, we'll be in the mid 40s as a sort of like a comfortable range. Um, we'll push that up into the low 50s throughout in the first half of August, probably. Then we'll back off that for like the last half of August. The mileage will come down a little bit, but the intensity is going to crank. It's going to crank up, so be ready.
You're having fun with this.
Well, you know, it's exciting to see when when I'm working with a client, not only who enjoys it, but who is handling it well. And so far, that's what you're doing. So, you know, today was just a matter of, again, we have to spread the work out a little bit more evenly. So
And I also think, I mean, for what it's worth, I had 2 nights. You know that I am a very, I sleep a lot
yeah, which
under
is
normal
awesome.
circumstances. The last 2 nights I didn't sleep as many hours as I usually sleep, and I think that I paid it off this morning. I
Yeah,
wasn't recovered because I probably needed a couple more hours of sleep.
yeah, exactly. And again, everybody just keep hydrating. You know, that's the big thing. You may not.
I was hydrated, and what I'm doing now is I leave a bottle in the bushes in front of my house, and I just
Okay.
loop around. So I
Oh, gotcha.
it's boring, but I can handle boring. I just don't have to run with the water, and I just loop around. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I did
gotcha.
on the 16 miler because it was threatening rain. I was like, I'll just loop around, and every 3.1 miles, I pass in front of the house. So if I have to go in, I'm not gonna get too drenched. Now, I had just passed the house, and it started pouring. Like I don't know, it was the end of the world, and I got drenched, and I had to loop around. So I was
Gotcha.
running 3 hours in like torrential rain,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun.
Oh, I love running in the rain. Yeah, especially in the summertime.
I didn't. It's just that I was wearing my glasses and I could not see because the glasses get all the drops and I
All
could not
foggy
see.
and everything.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, we've got Heather. Heather is aboard.
Hi Heather.
Everybody, if you don't know Heather from Running Geek Girl, wow, lots of fun. Lots of fun on her channel. Please go get subscribed. I was eating dinner and I was watching Heather's brand new video about trying to get set up to run on a $50 budget, buying everything through Timu. It was a whole
I
heck of a
haven't.
lot of fun.
I actually just saw that she posted and I was like, I need to watch it. I didn't have time because I had to run errands. So yeah,
Yeah, very
it's
cool stuff.
on my watch list.
Yeah, no, it's really enjoyable. I really liked it. So, cool. So, Suzie, I want to get like your brain dump. I want to know what you are looking forward to in this. What do you really want to see out of the rest of the training cycle?
I want to turn into a machine of running. Like I want to run fast, strong. Like when I picture myself running, it's funny because when I film myself, I think I'm going super fast. And I watch the video and it's like, I wasn't going that fast. So in my mind, I'm like giving it my all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I just, I want to. So my dream, my real dream is to reach the finish line of a marathon and just be able to kick, have that final kick of like, okay, let me push. Because I've
Exactly.
never had that. Like I've always gotten, well, I shouldn't say never, but every single time I've gone for like a goal, like trying to really run faster,
Hmm.
the last 4 or 5 miles,
Yeah,
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 they were
yeah,
very, very hard. So I would like to, I know that it's going to get hard, but I want to be able to get there with some stamina left. Yeah, not
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
I'm
I think
dying and yeah, I'm
see,
going to need
that's the big
stretchers.
thing. The big thing is you know, I've run 13 marathons now. I've had three, maybe four, where I had that kick. It's fairly rare. Um, but when those days happen, it's magic. And the thing for that I think can benefit every runner is to realize that when you're running a marathon, you never get to those last 3 or 4 miles feeling good. Like that's a myth. I think that's unless you're running way slower than your potential, I think that's impossible. Um, but the thing to realize is to get past that discomfort, to not to get past it, to realize that that's all it is discomfort. To get your mind in a place where you're calm enough to be able to realize, yes, it hurts. It's supposed to hurt. I just ran 23 miles and I've got three more to go. Of course I feel bad. It feels so much better when I'm, eating ice cream on the couch watching Gilligan's Island. But, um, you know, if you can realize that just because you're highly uncomfortable doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to continue to push even harder, because by the time you get to like mile 15 of a marathon, you're not comfortable anymore. That's when it starts to get real. And you have to
15, huh?
realiance,
It happens to me at 17. That's my magical
okay,
number.
yeah, for
When I
me,
get
it's
to
always
17,
early.
it's like, man, do I have to keep going? 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is really when if you realize that it's going to take more effort just to keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not putting in more effort to go faster. You're putting in more effort just to maintain what you've got. And that curve just gets steeper and steeper as the marathon goes on. You could mitigate that with good hydration, good fueling, of course, but the good attitude in the head is really the main driving force. If you can get to the point where you say to yourself, I'm not going to break. If I push harder right now, it's really, really going to hurt bad for these last 3 miles, but I know I can make my muscles work that little bit harder.
yeah.
And
Another thing, in terms of practicality, I wanted to be able to intake more carbs.
yeah,
Um,
that's a
so I
big
want to
thing with
start. So
Susie.
now this weekend we have the 18 miler. I want to start practicing taking more. So I bought, um, Goo has now a pack that has 15
The big
servings.
one, yeah,
And then I got the bottle. So I don't know how many fit in the bottle, but I'm just gonna go. Like,
rock on,
let's
rock
see
on.
how much I can digest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big thing is to try, see if you can from now on in all your long runs. We're deep enough into the cycle now. We're almost halfway through with the marathon training calendar, and from this point forward, I want you to try to fuel exactly with the same frequency and the same amounts as you would on race day, because we're far enough out now. You've got 7, 8 on the outside long runs left between now and when you go into taper mode, where if you're trying to shove that much fuel into your system and something goes wrong, we've got time to adjust, and hopefully you can find that where you're putting another, gel into your system every 25 minutes and your stomach is fine with it, you know.
So when I have done marathons, like goal, like giving them my all,
Mhm.
I have been able to have a go every 30 minutes. So I was wondering if
Cool.
I could do, because elite runners, they do more, right? Don't they?
Yeah,
When they take,
most people
I
will
mean, they don't
go.
do 30 minutes, but they take more carbs.
Yeah, the people with the really iron stomachs are going to be gelling even every 20 minutes. It's crazy. I can't do that myself. Um, for me, it's I've generally held to every. I do it more on distance, because for me, 4 miles is 25, 26 minutes. So I can just kind of chug along. I know every time when I get to 4, 8, 12, 16, etc. Pop a gel, pop a gel. But
And I
if
wonder if with the bottle, with this new glue thing, because you pour into the bottle, if you could
Yep,
actually like do it every, I don't know, just take it like a zip every, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, and just keep the sugar.
yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder if because you don't have to break the gel, and
yeah. You're
then
not
what do you
watching
do
it
with it? Like
go
if you
everywhere.
you put it
Yeah,
in a pocket or something, it's just like I've tried, and it just spills and it's sticky and it's disgusting.
yeah.
Um, but if you just have that little bottle and
It's
like
resealable.
it's resealable, yeah, and it's
Yeah,
washable
that's a
and
huge
everything.
advantage.
So
That's
I
awesome.
was thinking maybe I could even like every 10 minutes to just
Now,
you
something
know.
for you to consider also exactly along those lines is also the fuel that you take in, the fuel slash liquid that you take in as you're running. I always, for me, for that, and I've said this before in so many other live streams and videos, but the big advantage to drinking every half mile, I know exactly what 1 ounce of liquid feels like in my mouth. I know what that volume feels like. Every half mile, I get an ounce when I'm racing and even when I'm long run. So it's just, I always do the same thing. And if you're using, Tailwind, you can scratch whatever your liquid fuel of choice may be, even Gatorade, Powerade, whatever works for you. If you're taking in that fuel and that liquid, if that liquid fuel regularly like that, it's also keeps your glycogen levels even, so you're not spiking and up and down and all over the place.
Right.
So if you can combine that, if you were doing like an ounce of Tailwind every half mile and then every quarter mile in between you're taking a shot of goo, you should have some really, really nice
Yeah, I really want to play
levels.
around. That's why I ordered it, because I want to play around with just like
Yeah,
when I
that's a
saw
great
it and I
idea.
got an ad, it was like, well, then you can just do, because you don't have to tear it. And well, I mean, I've run with it in my hand, but again, it's just like if you forget, you squish it, you get
Exactly.
just
I hate that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's sticky, and I hate that stickiness of the you don't
Yeah.
know
Oh,
what
yeah.
to do. It's everything's sticky.
For
So,
me,
but
once
with
I
this, it
pop a
was
gel, yeah, it usually takes me like a half a mile to eat that gel completely. I can't just, all at once. It's a slow process for me. So yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes, because I'm gonna try it on the 18 miler, and I'll see. It's also much cheaper, because if you're buying
Oh,
the
yeah.
15 thing container, it's per serving is cheaper. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Gels are
gonna
getting
I'm gonna.
ridiculously expensive now. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, they're like even the goose, the rock thing are almost $3.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
like,
so
yeah,
it's out of control.
Morton came along and suddenly everybody said, oh, yeah, if they can
But
raise their
Morton
prices
is
that
almost
high.
it's like $4.50 or something. I was actually thinking about ordering, like, they're not paying. I'm sorry, like it could be phenomenal, but and then if you read it's basically amounts of dextrine and sugar. I mean, the ratio is what they have. It sounds like nailed down to an art, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's funny.
they
Heather, I
probably
think you're
say, yeah,
absolutely correct. No matter what the distance, the last bit always hurts.
yeah. But look, April is saying better for the environment too. Yeah, because what do you do with the gels? Like it's plastic. You throw them. What do you do? I mean, I
Yeah, I
usually
always
what I
hang
do,
on to
because I
mine,
don't,
but
I put them in a pocket or something. But then again, that stickiness is in your, that just doesn't come off. That's
yeah, 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 it's just one of those things you put up with when you're racing.
yeah. It's like it's in your fingers. That's the worst part. That then you're like, whenever you're like eating your bagel or something, you have the stickiness.
I know, I know. Cool. Oh yeah, I don't want to move the camera, but Calvin's up. He's awake and he's moving around now.
Yeah, we're at the top of the hour right now. I
Oh,
haven't
are we
eaten
really?
dinner yet. Yep.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I think we kind of covered it. I think we kind of talked very briefly about what you want. And Susie, I just want to tell you that I'm very excited by the fact that you're excited, because that is the key. If you're
And
excited about what's coming,
when I started this training blog, I was like, oh, I don't know. But again, today's not the example. It was the exception to the rule. I've seen myself progressing like like stronger with every run.
yeah, no, you're
Especially this last 16 miler, I was looping around the house with the rain, and it was really unfavorable conditions, super boring, no one on the street, and just rain and me going around. There was a neighbor leaving his house in the car, and he actually passed, and he was like, "Man, you're so dedicated."
that's awesome. That's awesome.
He was just like, I think he thought I was crazy. He's like, "You're so dedicated."
No,
It was true, and I was just like, and in my head, it was like, this probably in another training block, I would have called it off, but I was like, I'm just gonna keep going. I mean, I was so focused and so in the zone.
yeah, that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
I made a mental note. I'm like, I need to remember this run when things get harder, you know.
Exactly,
So
exactly. Good. And what everybody, just to pass this last little kind of piece of advice on to everybody, what Susie's talking about there is called the mental cookie jar. When you get to race day, you want to be able to recall the 3 hardest workouts that you crushed during your entire training block, because that helps to motivate you when you're, as we were saying earlier, when you're at mile 22 and you're dying out there, you're looking for something to give you that mental edge to keep going. If you can very quickly recall those hard workouts where you refuse to give up, it just gives you that extra oomph that you
you know
need.
what I have discovered too, and this is really stupid. Um, when I'm running, I'm trying to motivate. I was trying to motivate myself, obviously in English. I was watching, I found a new YouTube channel. It's a young girl. She runs, she's super fast. Um, but she was going through this long run and she was talking to herself in Spanish, giving the cues in Spanish. And something flipped in my brain and I said, maybe I should try to talk to myself in Spanish. Like when things get harder, maybe
Oh,
that
there you
works
go.
better than talking to myself in English. And that's what I did during the 16 miler. I was telling to myself, like in Spanish, nobody's quitting, but in Spanish. I was not saying, I'm like, I'm going to keep going and I'm not quitting. And
Good for you.
I was saying that in Spanish. It just worked like a charm. So I think it's
Rock on. Whatever
that
works.
connection. Yeah, that connection with my, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
No, that whatever
so
works,
I, so from now moving forward, I'm going to speak to myself in Spanish when things,
There you go. You
when
got
I'm on a run
keep
and
your
instead
mantras in Spanish. There you go.
I've never tried, but I heard this girl and she was talking to herself in Spanish, like, and she
So
said,
cool.
"Nobody's quitting here. We're gonna finish this." And she said it in Spanish. I was like, I should use that too. Maybe it works. So,
Whatever does work is what you got to keep doing. That's all that matters
right,
when you're out there.
right.
Cool. Well, everyone, I want to thank you for being here in the chat and making this a lot more fun. Susie, I can't thank you enough. Not
Can't
just
thank
for
you
being
enough.
a wonderful guest today, for being a wonderful client, for keeping me motivated as a coach and as a runner myself. You have no idea how many days I didn't want to get out there in the last week, and I, got a message from you, and I was like, all right, I'm going out there and I'm going to get it done. So, thank you, thank you
Thank
for
you.
saving this podcast. Or this live stream when it went completely haywire with technical issues at the beginning. And yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you to get your training calendar the way you need it to be. We'll talk tomorrow, I'm sure. But thank you. Go have dinner and enjoy yourself. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.